Hello, Stampers. How are you today? I hope that you are having a great day and thank you for joining me. We're going to learn how to make this cute little card. I'm going to show you how to make this. This is no line watercoloring. And this is I'm calling this a square gatefold card. Kind of fun, isn't it? It's actually pretty simple, pretty straightforward, but I think it's an interesting design highlighting that no line watercoloring. I'm going to show you how to do that, give you all the measurements to make the card itself, and help to hopefully inspire you to unleash your inner creativity. My name is Linda Edwards. I'm with Crafty Here and Designs. You can find me at my website, craftyhereanddesigns.stampinup.net. I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I am using all Stampin' Up! Materials for this card today. So I hope you like it. Let's go ahead and get started. The stamp set that we are using, I'm actually using multiple stamp sets, but primarily it's this wonderful World stamp set, and it is available through Stampin' Up! Right now. It's a celebration item, and it is available along with this beautiful paper. Isn't this just gorgeous? So this paper and the stamp set is available with a $100 purchase at Stampin' Up. So if you would like what you see, go ahead and place an order. If you don't have a demonstrator, I'd love to be your demonstrator. If you're not a demonstrator yourself, I'd love to help you, and you can find all the materials on my Stampin' Up website there. So what I'm going to do today is show you how to make this card, but we're going to use one of the other papers from this this set. So to get started, I'm going to give you all of the measurements, and here you can go ahead and take a picture of that if you'd like. So it's nice and easy to see those measurements. I'll go through them with you. The card base, starting with a thick basic white card base, and it is 11 inches by 4 1/4 inches, and it is scored at 2 3/4 and 7 inches. See that? 2 3/4 and 7 inches. And you fold it like that. And of course, the first thing we do is always fold and burnish the paper, the card base. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then the other papers, we got so we're going to do it, like I said, I'm going to use a little different cardstock, a little different colors. The original one was Mossy Meadow, but I'm going to use Rich Razzleberry, and you're going to cut two. The smallest one is going to cut two of these, and these are 2 inches by 3 3/8 inches. Then you're going to cut one that is 4 1/8 by 2 5/8, and then the last one is 4 1/8 by 3 7/8. And then your wonderful World Designer Series paper for layering. I'm going to use this color paper for the layering. I've got 2 coordinating colors, and you can see they just basically, it's the same one. It's just cut turned opposite. So the one of them is 2 1/2 inches by 4 inches, and of course the direction doesn't really matter on this one because it goes either way. This one is 3 3/4 by 4, and you want to be sure if your pattern has a direction that the narrower, it's going to go this way. So the narrower side, the 3 7/8, 3 3/4 is the shorter side by 4 inches. And these are just going to layer on that rich razzleberry like that. And then we're going to be using the Fluid 100 watercolor paper. I have actually cut it with the Deckled Rectangle Die. But if you want to just use a rectangle, it is 1 3/4 by 3 1/8 inch. And then we are actually going to cut this one with the rectangle decal die as well. But I'm going to start with a piece of basic white that is 2 1/4 by 3 1/2. I'm going to stamp on it. I always like to stamp first and cut afterwards. That way, if my stamp is a little bit, if it's not straight, I can adapt it with the die. So I'll show you how to do that. So those are the basic measurements for this square gatefold card. And of course, you can use whatever materials you have on hand to make it your own. So let's get started. The first thing, as you saw that I did, was I went ahead and I folded and burnished the card base. And then the next thing I'm going to do is actually the watercoloring. And that is because I want to give it time to dry. So then I'll make all the rest of the card while that is drying. So I am using the Fluid 100 watercolor paper because we're doing some watercoloring. It is the easiest way to get your watercoloring. You can use regular paper. The problem is that with regular paper, it can pill over with the water. So just be aware of that. And you can experiment. You can also use, in addition to the watercolor paper, you can use our thick basic white and you can use the shimmery white. But for this card, I wanted to use the watercolor paper. So with the no line watercoloring, we're going to start with a really light color to stamp the image, the flower that we've got. I put a little note for myself, stamp off. So we made this card in my classes. I do host classes in my local area. If you're in the Greensboro, Georgia area, I'd love for you to join me. So when we did this, I put a little reminder there to stamp off, but I need the reminder myself too. So this is one of the flowers that comes in that stamp set. Stamping off is just taking some of the ink off by stamping it first, and then I'm going to just kind of center it up and stamp. So it's a very light image. Can you see that? Very light. It's just going to guide me when I do the watercoloring. So close that up and set that aside. So I am using the Stampin' Up! Watercolor pencils. We have two different, got two different groups, I guess. I can't remember what they call, but different colors. This is the first one, and then this is the second one. I do have both of them. And but you can start with one, and I got the second one when I felt like I needed to expand my colors. So I am going to start. I'm going to start with the green. This is Old Olive. It's from this original set, and I am just. I hope you can see this. I am just going to color in the image, and I am staying within the lines and just coloring over what is here. I'm using that Sahara sand as a guide to where I want my color to go. So I'm doing these watercolor images, watercolor pencils. Now, of course, with watercolors, you can use watercolor a lot of different ways, but I'm going to show you how to use the pencils. And I am just basically applying color to this paper. Pretty straightforward, and using those lines as a guide. There we go. All right, so there's the first set, and then I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to do a little bit darker. There were some lines in there, so I'm going to add just a little bit of interest with a darker color. This is Garden Green. It's not one of the coordinating colors in the paper, but I think it works very well. Okay, and now I'm going to take Flirty Flamingo. This is a Flirty Flamingo pencil. This one is actually in the second set. I guess that's what it is, assortment 1 and 2. And I'm not really worried too much about anything other than staying kind of in the lines. I'm just applying color to the paper. You can see just kind of moving it around, not worrying too much about anything other than staying in those outside lines, because I'm going to come in with water and I'm going to smooth out this image. And I find it easier to rotate my paper rather than move my hand around. And you can see that some of these are a little bit darker, and I'm letting it be, darker in some spots and lighter in others. I did just sharpen these, and I do see how that line was really kind of sharp. I mean, I want a little smoother line, so I'm going to go ahead and you see I just kind of took the edge off of that pencil. All right, and then I'm going to come in. I want an accent color, so I'm going to use the the lines that were already in the ink pad. Let's see, we're going to bring that. I don't know if you can see that. Well, you can see here. I've got the image right here, so you can use it as your guide. See how it's a little bit darker in here? That's where the shading is. I'm going to go ahead and bring in some shading in those areas. So just using the stamp itself to give me some guidance as to where the shading should go. And the shading is basically, these are areas that when in nature or in the environment would naturally be darker. There's just some shading underneath these petals where they overlap. Let's see, a little bit over here maybe. And I'm just kind of following along and adding a little bit of shading in there. All right, so now this is where the magic starts. All right, so these are the watercolor pens, water painters that come from Stampin' Up. There are, you get it in a package of 3, so 3 different painters, and they have different thicknesses. So this is the thickest one. This one works really well if you're doing like a background technique. That's a great size. And then this is kind of the medium size. You can see that's a little bit larger, but if you had kind of a bigger area, or a little bit smaller, excuse me, than the first one, but if you had kind of a bigger area to color, you would use that one. And then this is the smallest, and because I've got a relatively small space, this is the one I'm going to use. You can see the tip is on the smaller side. So these are a little tricky when you get them. Move that out of the way so I don't get ink all over my pieces, or so I don't get water all over them. It actually doesn't open the way you would normally expect. Normally you expect righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. These are backwards. So when you get them, you open them, you just fill it with water, close it up again. Again, it's opposite of what you would expect. Just close it up again. I just use tap water. And then there's a little button here that says push, and that's how you're going to get the water to come out onto your paper. So I have a piece of paper towel here that I'm going to use to go ahead and start, and I'm going to push. I want a little bit of water to come through. If you can see that water dripping through? A little bit of water. So I'm going to get that off of my hand, and now I'm going to just come and I'm going to start with this leaf, and I am going to just apply some water to the image, and it just kind of smooths it out a little bit so that it doesn't look like it's a pencil. That's all. And see, now I'm going to pick up some of the green, that brighter green, and I want to spread that out a little bit and just get that color to smooth out a little bit. And at this point, of course, if I go a little bit out of the lines, that's absolutely fine. It gives it that more watercolor look, which is a more loose, kind of a flowing image. So just applying the water until I get the image to look the way I want it to. Now can you see the difference between where I've applied the water and then of course up here where there's no water yet? It just kind of blurs the color together, which is what I want. Okay, so now I'm going to change colors. So I'm going to get the water, squeeze a little bit more water out of the tip, and make sure I can see that I have no color coming off with that. So now I'm going to do the lighter pink color. Always work lighter to darker. So I'm just kind of swirling that around. I just want to apply a little water to smooth out that ink color. I think it's easier to see with the Flirty Flamingo color, partly because it's just a larger image. So I think it's easier to see than on the thin lines of the green leaves. And I'm just kind of swirling it around. I'm not being super precise. I am going over those lines. You can see that because that Sahara sand is such a light color, it kind of just goes away. You barely see it. And now I'm going to go into some of that darker, rich raspberry color and bring that color around and smooth it out and kind of let it kind of bleed into the flirty flamingo, the lighter color. And then I can actually go back and add more color if I want, but I really need to wait until it's dry to do that. So, but you can kind of drag the color around with your painter. There we go. All right. So see that? See right here, I feel like I need to go back in there and get a little more color in there. I seem to have lost all of it. So let's see. If you have too much water, if you get too much water on your paper, just use your paper towel to kind of dab it off. All right, let me see if it's too soon. No, I can get that. Okay. So I'm putting a little more of that purple there, and I'm going to squeeze a little more water, and let's get that. Now this time I'm kind of just tapping, tap, 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 to get some water onto that. There we go. There we go. So one other thing I wanted to show you that you can do, some kind of tap, tap, tap to get that spread out. You can also actually pick up some color on with your water. See how you can you see, where am I? Here I go. You see the water, I picked it up on the pencil, and there's water now, or the color rather is on my painter, and I can go in and add it there. So that's another way that you can pick up some color and add it to your image. And again, I'm kind of dabbing it. Let's get a little bit more here. There we go. Kind of dabbing it on the ends, giving it a little, maybe I'll go ahead and do a little bit more on those ends there, kind of just to bring the color around a little bit. And this, I want to add a little bit more there. And then I'm going to go back with that flirty flamingo and do the same thing. So I'm going to get a little bit of color here, because I'm afraid if I apply the color directly to the image, now it's going to run together. So by putting the color on my brush, I'm less likely to have that blotchiness. So I want the colors a little bit more intense. So adding a little shading in there to give that a little more depth. Get a little more color on there and add a little more depth in there. Okay? And I'm just kind of trying to follow those lines that are very, very light, but definitely still there. So again, adding a little more depth. Here we go. Okay. I think I'm good. I think I might just double check my lines here a little bit. Yep, I think that's all good. All right, so now I'm going to set this aside, and I'm going to let that dry, and we are going to put the rest of the card together. Get these out of my way. And I don't think I need that. So let's see. So the next thing we'll do is some stamping. I am going to stamp on the envelope. So I have another image from that stamp set, and I'm going to just use the Sahara sand to make this image on the envelope. I do like to decorate my envelopes, give somebody a little hint of what is going on inside, what they can expect when they open their card. So set that aside. And then, so I have this piece of white, basic white, and that is going to have our sentiment, and that's the happy birthday sentiment. And I'm going to stamp that in rich razzleberry. So this happy birthday is from the Go-To Greetings stamp set. Take a look at that. Make sure, you see I kind of cut some of my some of the red rubber away because it was interfering. It was getting all over my stamp. It was hard to get a good, crisp, clean image. But since I'm going to be die cutting this, I just really kind of want it centered. Okay, good. I like that. That looks good. All right, put that aside to clean. And, oh, I do have one more. I knew I needed to do another stamp. Okay, so I'm going to have this. This is the way I want my card to open. Set that aside. So I'm going to stamp my image in the middle of the inside. So, you know, it's always a little challenging, shall we say? Make sure I get a good image there. When we're stamping directly on the inside of the card, because it seems a little risky. What if I get it crooked or whatever? But if I do, I'll just take another piece of basic white and put it on top. So I'm kind of lining it up with the line under here so that I can see it straight. And of course, it's always a little hard when you're doing it on camera because I'm not totally right 100% over it. It's a little crooked, but you know what? I'm okay with that. This is something handmade. It's not machine made, it's handmade. And I think there's a certain element of charm in having the image be less than perfect. I think perfection is overrated. I hope you agree with me. Okay, so now I am going to use my Deckled Rectangle die to die cut this piece, and then we will be ready to assemble. So I'm going to bring in my mini boss, my mini cut and emboss machine. Certainly the large one works as well, but on camera I think it's easier to bring in the smaller one. So here I've got my base plate, and you know it tells you, see, somebody was cutting without the die, but that's what happens in classes. That's okay. So there's the first base plate, number one, and then number two, which has stuff on it. All right, we'll turn that over. All right, number two, and then I'm going to put my paper on. And a little tip for you, when you've got a straight edge, you don't want that straight edge to be parallel to your wheels, your cutting wheel there. So I'm going to turn it, I'm going to angle it a little bit to the left. See how, so that when it goes through, it won't have that straight edge. And now I'm going to put that other plate on. And the other thing is you want to stagger your plates when you're sending them through. So I get it started with the one hand, then I hold on with the other and just run it through the machine. There we go. And voila, perfect. All right, set that aside, get that out of the way. And now we are ready to assemble our card. So fun. Just love these colors. Oh my goodness. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is attach these together. Of course, I like liquid glue. I'm here in the South, and I find that the liquid glue really just is the most durable in our humidity. Other areas of the country maybe, you know, don't have the issues that we do with the snail, but I like to use the liquid glue. I also just like the fact that it just gives me a little bit of wiggle room. So when I put my cardstock down, if I don't get it 100% straight, see how I can kind of wiggle it around till I get it just right. All right, and then this one is going to go on here. And I'm going to wait and give my watercolor a little more time to dry before I attach it to the front of the card. So there. That watercolor image is going to go on here, but I'm going to wait. It's pretty dry, but I'm going to just wait until the very end. So now this piece can be attached to the inside of the card. There. See how I had to slide that around? And then this one's going to go here, and I want it to kind of cover up my stamp. So I am going to raise it up a little bit, and I'll show you a little trick. I want it centered side to side, and I want to make sure that I'm covering up that sentiment. So I turn it upside down, and okay, watch how I did that again, right? Not this way. I just turn it this way, and that tells me where I'm going to put my adhesive. So obviously this side is easy, right? I just go to the end. But here I want to make sure I don't have any adhesive on this side because I want it to stay on just this right flap. So I'm kind of centering it side to side there, and then just making sure that I don't have that, so that I'm covering that part of the flap, and you see nothing on the ends on that side. So we're good there. Now, before I attach this to the front, I'm going to put some ribbon around it. So this ribbon that I'm using is Sweet Sorbet. Now, you might think, well, Sweet Sorbet, this Sweet Sorbet ribbon does not really, to me, it doesn't really look that much like Sweet Sorbet, but I think it's really pretty with this paper. So that's why I'm using it. So I like to use glue dots with my ribbon. I find that it is the best, they adhere the best way to adhere ribbon to the back of a card. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on the paper, put that in there, and then bring that around. Looks like it should go right about there. And oh, I think that part's done. So I'm going to go ahead and put it on. Oh, didn't want that to happen. You probably can't see that. That's off camera. It's stuck to my tabletop here. That's okay. So I'm going to put it right about there. And there. And then I'll just cut that little bit of excess off so it's not too bulky behind there. All right. So now I can go ahead and adhere the base. You know, I can't tell you how often I forget to put the ribbon on, and then it's too late. So hopefully you will not have that problem. There we go. Okay. Oh, those colors just so pretty. So you might ask, well, what about the bow? What happened to the bow? Yeah, you'll see. It's hard to attach a bow, attach it all the way around and tie the bow. I find very difficult to do that. So I just attach the bow separately. Okay, so now my watercolor image is done. It's dry. I am going to go ahead and attach that to the base, the rich raspberry base. And just center that on that rectangle. And then I want to pop that up on dimensionals. So I'm going to bring my dimensionals on board, and I want it to be, I like to be fairly generous with my dimensionals. Hey, Mary Lou, thanks for joining me. There we go. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So take all those off and pop that right back on. So, like so, and I'm just going to center that right there. And then we're going to bring this Sweet Sorbet ribbon and tie a pretty little bow and attach that to the card. So I hope you like what you're seeing today. If you do, love it for you to give me a thumbs up. If you're on YouTube or on Facebook. If you have, if you do not have your own demonstrator and you'd like to purchase any of the items that I am using today, would love to become your demonstrator. You can find more of my tutorials here on Facebook, or if you're watching it on YouTube, if you subscribe to my Facebook page or my YouTube page, you will be notified when I have live videos. Sometimes I do them live, sometimes I'll do pre-recorded and add them to either Facebook or YouTube. There we go. Cute little bow. And then of course we need some bling. So when you comment or when you like one of my videos, it helps others find me, and I appreciate your help with that. So these are the iridescent rhinestone basic jewels. These are just really, really pretty. They will really coordinate with just about anything, any colors that you are working with, because they are just kind of iridescent. They pick up the surrounding colors. Let's see, 2 small ones. Let's use a bigger one down here. Gotta have a little bit of bling. There we go. So that is our card for today. I hope you like that. I hope maybe you learned something new about how to watercolor, the no-line watercoloring. And it's a happy birthday. And it's your time to be remembered, to feel appreciated, and to know you're celebrated. And that sentiment is from the Inspired Thoughts stamp set. I think there are a lot of really good sentiments in this, even a Christmas sentiment. And so I thought that was, I don't know, I like to celebrate folks, and I'm looking forward to sending that card to someone special. And here's the original one that I started with the green. I don't know, do you have a favorite? And you can see the watercoloring is different. I left a little bit more of the Sahara sand around the base of this one. I did actually not stamp off, which is why you can see more of the lettering or of the outline. So do you have a favorite? What do you think? I think this one looks more like a true watercolor, so I do like that one a little bit better, but this is really pretty as well. And you can see that I also added some different colors in the green here. And this was a little bit darker. But, so every time you do this, it's going to be a little different result. And that's what I love about no-line watercoloring. It's a nice, easy way to personalize your cards for someone special. So that's it for today. I hope you have enjoyed this video, and I look forward to bringing some additional inspiration your way in a future video. Bye for now.